Go ahead and we'll call to order Board of Works public meeting for March 1st, 2016. We got all members here. We have the read. Do I have a motion to dismiss the rules and pass it? Dismiss with the. Oh.
Dispense the reading of the minutes.
Yeah. Do I have?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Payment of claims. Is there any questions, any further questions about payment of claims? Anything we'd like to discuss? Payment of claims.
No, sir.
Okay. Seeing no questions, motion to approve the payment of claims would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And on to new business. We have no old business, so we'll move into new business. First item, we have Thomas W. Sorensen. Do we have a Thomas here tonight? Requesting a handicap sign placed in front of the home of 525 West 3rd Street for Emma J. Sherinja. Anybody here for either of those parties? The request is for a handicap sign in front of their home. There's, from what I take it, there was a handicapped person there. From what I've spoken to our city attorney in the past, we can't set aside public spaces for private individuals. So having no one here to argue for the other side, I would say.
Now, didn't we?
For the last handicap sign?
Yes.
And that's because it was
right
at Ivy Tech, so it served the public purpose, public good.
Yeah. And I think that's where
public-private residence, so
yeah.
We could approve the space at the last request because it was usable for public space and public good for that Ivy Tech.
Right.
Isn't any parking along the street meant for public parking? It's not a private residence parking.
Well,
correct me if I'm wrong.
Right. And so the distinction, I think, with the last one and this one, and I know I mentioned something about the last meeting to try to make that clear, because that's an issue that city attorney had brought up before too, was that we're not making a handicap space for one particular resident.
It is open to any
right.
handicapped person.
Right. Yeah.
Proper sign. Right.
And so with the other handicap space that we made, being in a heavily publicly used area next to the school, there's some justification that people that need access to the school, there would be another handicap spot for anybody who's handicapped to have access to either the school or that resident. It's open to the public. But I would say that if we do this in front of this particular resident, to put a handicap, then it's going to be de facto for one person. Whereas before, with it being so close to the school, it was reasonably for the entire community there and a broader range of people in the public that would need that space. Whereas this, I feel like, is specifically for one person, which I don't think we should do.
I agree with you in the fact that I don't think it should be specifically for one individual, but I mean, putting a handicap sign on a public street is, you could say it's for a public use. But you are correct in the fact that if it's, the request is made for a specific address. Right,
and that's why I ask if there's anybody here that's from the parties of this, because if people were to come and say, well, there's 5, 6 different people on our walk that are all handicapped and they could all use this, there's a need greater than this one individual,
sure.
Then I'd say that's something we could consider. But seeing as how it is specified as being for a single person, and no one's here to tell us that it's for anybody besides that single person, I don't see how we could, move on that then.
Fair.
Any other questions or concerns?
Anybody?
Any questions or concerns from the public?
Yeah, I kind of have one on that subject. I happen to have 2 children that are, one's wheelchair bound. if that person needs that space in order to be able to load and unload that individual, they may not have rear parking where they can, in the back, and the place they can park is in the front. And if they have to go a great distance to load them, if it's pouring down rain, that's not a good idea. I understand public use and all that, but
I don't disagree. I don't dis. I mean, but in the same token, it makes it very difficult if, I'm not sure the number of individuals in town that would need one, but I mean, now can the city afford to put a handicap sign on everybody's street all across the city? I don't think it financially would make sense.
can they put one up themselves? I mean,
Well,
I'm not gonna be a devil's advocate here, but
I think you're bringing up,
And the thing is, you wouldn't be able to designate public property,
Right.
something,
isn't this Disability Awareness Month?
Yes, it is.
I know, I just saw that on
No,
Facebook.
yeah, no,
That's not
the irony
fair.
of that does not escape me. I get it.
But no, I also have an aunt who's disabled that could use that service as well to be able to on her street. But it doesn't. And now if we had the ability to raise private funds to be able to pay for the signs, to be able to do that, then
And to
you
pay
know,
for
Well,
the
that's what I'm saying, though.
enforcement
What
of
if
the
they pay for their own
parking.
sign?
right. Well,
And the thing is, for me, it's not necessarily the matter of cost. It's a matter of if somebody lives at a house that has a disability and has a very good reason that they need a sign in front of their house, who's to say that that person doesn't move next month? And now the city has handicap signs because the thing is, there's got to be something more permanent than one resident in that space to justify a public handicap space. Whereas like the school, that's a permanent installation we're not counting on the residents that live around that school to always be there, to need that, to justify the handicap spot. But if there's one person that lives in a house in a block, I don't think that's the justification that we need to put one up as a city.
My concern with that block as well is there's only parking on that. If you had, let's just say, 2 or 3 residents within that same block that wanted a handicap spot,
Right.
the folks on the north side of the street are going to suffer greatly without having a parking spot at all, unless they go down to a side street in order to park.
Right.
It's just another food for thought, considering this particular request here as well.
yeah.
Right.
And that was going to be my next question. So I'm not familiar with the street and what that looks like. And again, if it was on a corner section, maybe it'd be more considered. But there again, so does every block in the city on a
Right.
corner get a designated handicap spot? And so-
Because we have to try to be as consistent as possible too. So if there's not a reason to, if we were to approve something like this for this random block, every person that came in said, hey, but you did it for that block, what's different here? And, there's a lot of,
But I do think that there could be some way to do this. I just don't know what it is right now. So I don't think it's something to be completely washed off the table, even if this doesn't go through. But I think there probably is something that could be done. I mean, because it is an issue. It's an issue not only in our city but other cities as well. We did go around and made all the sidewalks, handicap accessible in that manner. So, do we just stop it there, or do we make sure that they can at least get into their house as well?
well,
trying to do that.
and the ADA accessible issue throughout the city is an ongoing project,
Sure.
and it's an issue for every city in America, and so this is something that we continuously work on to make sure that that we are doing everything we can and everything possible to make sure that we make everything. It's like all of our downtown area of our sidewalks are all now ADA accessible, and we're working on expanding that throughout the city. Our public buildings right now, we are taking reports and advisement on how ADA accessible they are. I believe that we have very good accessibility to our public buildings as far as the city-owned public buildings. So, to your point, it is something that we continually work on, but if we were to make the entire city entirely ADA accessible today, I mean, you're talking about in the hundreds of millions of
Yeah,
dollars
right,
range,
right.
you know what I mean? So this is something we have to take a bite
But
at
it could
a
be,
time.
it could be an over the, you know, a 15-year plan or a 20-year plan.
Yeah, and we do have that, we do have that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So anyway, I mean, not to,
So, yeah, thank you for bringing up that question, sir. I appreciate it. It obviously can create discussion just here, so it can create bigger discussion citywide, and I think that that's very beneficial.
Right, and tying into Disability Awareness Month too, with this and the discussion about, you know, are we doing enough?
I just say I'm on board. I would like to see something to be able to be done to move something in a progressive manner that way, but, you know, how we do that and how we go about it obviously can't be decided in a 15-minute talk, so,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, if this is something that this panel wants to look into further, if it's something that there's members of the public that are more interested in, want a better answer than what we have tonight, this is definitely something we can look into and continue looking at what can we do? What are the other options?
Definitely.
Cool. But as for the specific issue on the table tonight with the handicap sign, I still don't think that's an
Yeah,
appropriate response.
Okay.
I don't either, and I would make a motion that we do not accept this request for the handicap place at 525 West 3rd.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes.
Okay.
All right, the next item on the agenda is from Police Chief Mike Meeks. You have a officer you'd like to make full-time?
Yes, it's actually present right here in the white polo shirt tonight. Officer Rushforth hired him at the police department on March 9 of 2015. He came to us from the Lafayette Police Department, and we had some time served over there as well. Officer Rushforth, just in the 2 months that I've been in the chief's office, has done, I feel like, a great job. He's been open to criticism. He's also approached me with a couple of community policing type ideas, which I've been extremely pleased with. So I've just appreciated the fact that he's looking beyond just being a policeman and just the 9-to-5 duties or the 7-to-3 duties, whatever it may be. Also, I don't know if even prior to me coming into office, I always appreciated the public relations things that Officer Rushforth did. I mean, I know some of us follow Facebook, and I'd see him on there, whether it was giving out Halloween candy. I want to say maybe even he was guilty of going down and trying to be a skater in the skate park. One time, I think it was you, was it not? Yes. Okay. I think he's still recovering from those injuries, possibly. I'm not sure. But anyways, no. On a more serious note, though, Officer Rushforth has done a great job. He's actually bought a home here. He's from Cicero, Indiana. However, he has purchased a home here, and it sounds like he wants to be rooted here, and I do appreciate that as a chief as well.
Absolutely.
Officer Rushforth has worked all 3 of our shifts. He's currently working second shift as a patrolman. Also, during the last administration, he went through the field training officer program, where he's actually a field training officer, and he's actually expressed some desire with us to continue in that role, which excites me that we have young officers such as himself that has a desire to better himself, not only within the department, but within the community as well. So yeah, it is my request then to the board to move Officer Rushforth from a probationary officer to a full-time permanent police officer with the city of Peru.
Is there any question about Derek's?
I mean, I think the questions that I had were answered. Chief, you've done a very good job explaining that, so.
I do appreciate you bought a house here in the community, showing that, you know, you want to be a part of this community and you're investing in the community. I think that shows a lot too.
Especially for his age. Derek, how old are you? Help me.
27.
27. Okay, I thought he's 23.
Yeah.
He looks like a baby. But even for that age, you know, when you have a young man like that does not have children as well, and he has such a vested interest in children as he has shown.
Right.
Or at least being one. Just kidding.
Right.
Chief Meeks, do you have any concerns or any reservations about Officer Rushforth being promoted to full-time?
I do not. No.
Okay.
I know that Officer Rushforth and I have talked about just different issues, different things.
Okay.
He's just, like I said, receptive to criticism, receptive to praise, which we all are. But no, he's done a great job. I've spoke to his supervisors as well prior, also after this request as well. And all of his supervisors say nothing but great things, especially the supervisors that have taken over since the first of the year that we've promoted as a city. So got total confidence in Officer Rushford.
Okay, thank you.
Great. All right. There's no other discussion. Chief Meek's request making Officer Derek Rushforth a full-time permanent officer would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome to the force. Glad to have you.
Welcome.
Now I want to see an ollie back flip, goofy-footed. We won't
Actually,
put that as an
those-
official recommendation or criterion, but
I'll
that's,
submit my hospital bill to you.
all right.
The last thing we have on our agenda is a continuing contract with American Structure Point. American Structure Point was the firm that the last administration had hired to help us go after the Stellar Point designation. Not Stellar Point, the
Stellar Cities.
the Stellar Cities designation, excuse me. Most of the legwork going after the Stellar designation has been done in the past year. We weren't able to get it. Sorry if I fumble the words, the Stellar designation. It used to be a Stellar grant, but they're very emphatic that it is not a grant. It's a program. It's a designation. So we need to keep that in mind. So, like I said, there was a payment made last year to go after this designation, and basically this is kind of like a block grant program. It makes the city far more accessible to a wide range of grants through the state if we get the designation. It's a huge feather in your cap as a city. We weren't able to get it last time, but like I said, they did all the legwork, the Structure Point, and so now to continue that contract with them, to continue to go after this, is far more economical for the city to continue the contract. We do have money appropriated for it, but I do need signatures from the other two Board Works members, so that's why I'm bringing that before us tonight. This isn't something we need to take a vote on.
Were they the consultant that we paid to do the legwork and didn't get the program
Yes.
from before?
Yes, and so, and in my meetings with them and the conversations we have with them, I would not lay that blame at their feet. If you look at where we were, the way that we were set up in applying for this last year, we were not in a good position. What they had to work with was very limited. And so in meetings with them about, the hurdles they had to overcome to get to this point, they have legitimate reasons of why.
Okay.
And so in meetings with them, I think, if we want to, outside of my judgment that they did a good job, if we want to go after Stellar this year, we can't, there's not another firm that could get on board in time to
Because
make
they've already
the
done that
application, right?
initial legwork.
So this company's already done the application before, they just had to do some tweaking to update it to this year. And so when I came on and I asked about if we went with another company, there's no other company that would take us on to go for it again, because
The
they wouldn't have the
time
time,
crunch.
and they wouldn't take on another company's work and just sign their name to it and say, we'll take on what Structure Point did previous year, put our name on it and update it for you.
Okay.
So it was a
Do you have
matter
any
of,
numbers-
what's
Do you
that?
have any numbers related to how many cities that Structure Point has actually got this designation for?
They have gotten the designation for other cities. I want to say, I don't have the numbers on it. There's been a few that they have gotten. When Wabash got their Stellar
Was through-
designation, it was through Structure Point.
I just wanted to make sure that
Right,
we
yeah.
were going to go down this path and
Yeah.
they've never succeeded in this.
Right, yeah, well, they,
But they say this time it'll work.
right, yeah, no, they succeeded next door in Wabash, and
that's pretty
Wabash speaks
comparable.
and
Sure.
Wabash is very comparable to
I
us.
believe Delphi. I believe they did Delphi.
Did they do Delphi too?
I'm,
Okay.
I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure they did Delphi.
Right, yeah, and basically what it comes down to is, if we want to go for Stellar again, we either go with them or we don't go for it at all. And we
And the money is
have,
already appropriated
Yeah,
to go
we-
for it.
we have money appropriated in the seeded fund, for
Okay.
Stellar. And so, the money's there if we want to use it, and we will be getting a bargain to go after Stellar this year versus hiring a company to come in from scratch, doing the study. I believe it was $35,000 that they charged last year to put this together. This year, to update it and to work with us and be available to us for the entire year through this process.
And that investment, if we get the designation, will pay for itself and then some with
Right.
the grants
Right.
and eligibility we have for other funding.
Right.
Okay.
But like I said, the $35,000 that we paid last year for them to put it together, do the research, and be there as an advisor for that year. This year, for them to update it and be there for us the entire year through this process and work with us for the entire year, it's gonna be $8,000. So we're talking about, we paid $35,000 for last year. We'll be continuing to get the same service, but only at $8,000 this year.
Do you have any reservations or concerns?
No, I don't.
All right.
I look at it as, you know, is 8,000 worth the bet that we can get Stellar this year? And I think that that is an appropriate and logical.
Do we get some really great signage?
Well, and the thing is, another great thing about this is the work that they will do for us, even if we don't get the Stellar Point designation, it helps set us up for grants throughout the entire year. So this 8,000 isn't just the Stellar. So when other grant opportunities pop up, they help us with any grant opportunity that comes up through the year. But a part of what they're doing is mainly, we've hired them because we're gonna go after Stellar.
So you should have led with that.
Okay.
Yeah, why am I talking? Okay.
So anyways, like I said, it's just continuing a professional contract, and so I'm just bringing it up, and because I do need signatures from the Board of Works, we can take a vote on it, just to take a vote on it, but it's not something that I believe is
If it-
necessary.
We don't need a vote
If
on
it's
it,
already,
then-
the money's already designated.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So I'm just to make it publicly aware, and since it's something that I'm gonna need you guys' signatures on.
Does the public have any question about the Stellar
Designation?
designation
No.
program? All right
does
then.
the community have any questions at all? Excellent.
All right. Well, motion to adjourn would be in order then.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for
Thanks.
coming.
Now I see what you're talking about.
Did you see?
So we didn't have a shared.
Congratulations. You guys were right on.
Okay.
Yay!
Okay, and this is exactly.